first, we're going to get off to UFC Fight Night in Abu Dhabi, Umar Nurmagomedov versus Corey Sandhagen. And Maddux, I wanted to first kind of talk about the Tony Ferguson fight. He, of course, got submitted by Michael Chiesa in the first round, unfortunately. And for him, that marks his 8th consecutive victory, his 8th consecutive loss, sorry. And that is a new UFC record. And I just wanted to kind of hear your thoughts about that fight. And what do you make of it, Tony?
I think it's time to hang it up for Tony. I don't think it's Tony time anymore. I think it's Tony's time.
Yep, unfortunately.
So, yeah, I think like he competes. It's just like, and especially a fight like that, like you got submitted in first round, like 2 minutes in, maybe.
It was pretty quick. So
like, no, I think it's Tony's time. I think it's time to hang him up. And I don't want to see him fight another promotion, so I hope that doesn't happen either. But no, I think it's time to hang him up.
Yeah, and I think that he kind of alluded to that in his post-fight interview. Super cool move from Michael Chiesa. He kept his interview really short and sweet and gave the time over to Tony, which was really cool move. Really liked that. But yeah, Tony left one glove in the octagon just in case he wanted to fight again. But I just don't know what's next for him. Yeah, like you said, you don't want to see him fight in another promotion. He doesn't really seem like he wanted to either. So yeah, I don't really know what's next for Tony. It's unfortunate. He's such a likable dude, so it sucks to see him just keep losing. I'm rooting for him every single time, but I don't know who he can beat.
I mean, the problem is like he competes.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like, I mean, he was beating Michael Chandler. He was competing with Bobby Green. Like, he was competing with these guys. Like, he's lost a lot by decision. So, but the last couple, I mean, he's been tapped out. So, I don't know. I think it's time. Yeah, I think it's time to hang him up.
Yeah, I agree. And it sucks to see. And yeah, like you said, Tony, he competes in these fights. I mean, going back to that Oliveira fight, his arm was essentially off in that arm bar, and he still just kept going. Like, he's a warrior, and it sucks to see him go. But yeah, I think it might be time. I mean, he's not really ahead, but before it gets much worse.
Yeah, I mean, the last thing you want is to have like a career like Chuck Liddell, where you go too long and then all of a sudden you just keep getting knocked out. Like, at least in this last Chiesa fight, he got submitted in round 1, so he didn't take damage. But the last thing you want is for like one of your favorite fighters to just keep going and then eventually just get knocked out, and then it's hard to see him keep competing.
Yeah, absolutely. And so it sucks for Tony, but wishing him well. But yeah, moving on. We'll kind of skip through the Bullet fight. I mean, he's a warrior. That was a great fight. But moving on to the main event between Corey Sandhagen and Umar Nurmagomedov. I was pretty impressed with Sandhagen's performance against Umar. What did you think?
No, I agree. I was really impressed with his grappling defense. I think he caused Nurmagomedov a lot of problems with when Umar like clinched and like had him down. He wasn't able to keep him down. And I was really impressed with that. So I think that he gave him trouble, but obviously, I mean, it wasn't enough because he wasn't able to really showcase anything on the feet, just because Umar is also a striker.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what DC was talking about during the fight, was like he's different from the rest of these Nurmagomedov guys because at first he was a striker. So like he's different than most of them. So it's a harder task than just to stop the takedown, but then you actually got to compete on the feet as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that I was really impressed with Corey's defense, but yeah, his offense was unable to kind of get started because Umar was really thwarting all that he had, and he didn't do a lot of damage on the ground. I don't even know if he had a submission attempt, but he made it really difficult on Sandhagen to kind of gain any momentum. And so, yeah, really impressed by his performance. he'll undoubtedly get a title shot. Either that's O'Malley or Merab. But I wanted to ask you, what do you think is going to be next for Sandhagen?
I wouldn't. I mean, you have Davidson Figueiredo, who just won on that card, who beat Cheeto.
I think he was calling for a title shot.
So, I mean, that fight could essentially be, because, I mean, obviously Nurmagomedov is the number one contender now, but that fight could essentially be, with Aljo not being in the picture anymore, that fight could essentially be another number one contender fight that puts them in right back in title contention. And I think that would be a fun fight for the fans, just because you have Figueiredo, who's been dominating in the bantamweight division. So, I mean, to knock down Cheeto Vera, something O'Malley couldn't even do. So, first time ever in the UFC. So, I mean, I think I wouldn't mind seeing Figueiredo Sandhagen. I don't see any other really like fight really, just because like that's the only fight that makes sense for me if he wants to get back in title contention.
Yeah, I think that's a great fight. That makes the most sense for sure. I'm bummed. I really wanted to see Sandhagen versus O'Malley at some point. I mean, depending on how this next title fight goes, maybe we do see that eventually. Maybe Merab pulls it off. I don't see it happening, but either way, I would love to see O'Malley versus Sandhagen. Like that's such a fun fight. It'd be so cool.
No, that is.
Yeah, but yeah, we'll see what happens in that division. It's a very exciting division right now with O'Malley at the top.
It is. Yeah,
it's cool.